With every passing day, hundreds and thousands came to him. His home became a mandir with a moving and loving, smiling and playful deity. Yes, it was him and only him who turned everyone's tears into streams of bliss. As the bud blossomed to reveal 1,000 petals, it can only be said that the fragrance of the first few years is unique.
This was the time Swami was traveling. Not only he traveled on his own, he was also made to travel, as it happened in the case of Miss Padma Priya. Her father, Dr. Adri, a long-standing devotee, he wanted Swami to attend the wedding of his daughter, that is Padma Priya. And in fact, he wanted that because Swami himself had found a groom for her, a person by name Parthasarthi. So Swami agreed. Swami did not own any car. So a car was sent for Swami and Swami was taken to Bangalore on the 18th of May. 19th was the wedding. And Swami conducted the entire wedding. He even materialized the Mangal Sutra that was necessary and it was all done. It was very beautiful. In the end, he gifted the bride and groom with a materialized picture of himself. And Swami said, any problem that you get, you sit together and pray and I will take care. I feel this is such a beautiful advice to any married couple or anybody who is going to get married. Because all said and done, when two people come together and decide to share their entire lives, there is bound to be some friction. Even though Swami might not have physically given us, Swami has spiritually gifted us himself. If we can have Bhagwan as the common factor, whenever we have any trouble, let us sit together and it will all get solved. 6 months later, this Parthasarthi got transferred to Bombay on a new assignment and he went and took up his new role there. It was all done in a hurry, at the end of which they noticed there was one accounting lapse and 10,000 rupees were missing. And since he was the person in charge, it came onto his head. That is when they remembered, Swami. And both husband and wife decided to sit and pray in front of that photograph of Swami that Swami had himself given. In fact, I feel this is the reason why troubles come into most of our lives. Because if not for trouble, we forget God. We forget the sole source of the ultimate joy in life. Bliss is only union with God, but we forget God and remember everything else. To just remind us and put us back onto the right track, a difficulty is given. Because the moment difficulty comes, hey Bhagwan, oh God, what did you do? What did I do? At that time, this wife, Padma Priya, she had a habit where she would collect annas, coins, in her piggy bank. And when it gets full, she converts it into rupees and sends it as a donation to Shirdi. That was her practice. So after praying to Bhagwan's photo, when they cracked open that piggy bank, they saw that along with the coins, there was a lot of vibhuti. And they were so thrilled, they took it as Bhagwan's grace. And sure enough, the next day, when Mr. Parthasarthi went to office, there were people who had come to apologize to him, saying that no, this money, we found it has been wrongly input, there was a wrong thing there and that's why it is, and nothing, it's all fine, and they all apologized. It all became fine. In one moment, everything becomes fine. Difficulties are messengers who come with a message to you. The moment you listen to the message, the messenger goes away. In the ancient times, when messengers would go to another kingdom, they may bring good tidings or bad tidings. Maharaj, we have won the war. And the king immediately removes his necklace and tells, take. And he goes and tells, we have lost. That city is gone. And he'll behead this fellow. The messenger will be shivering because what did I do? I am just bringing the message. Neither do I deserve a necklace nor do I deserve a noose. That is what Swami says we do to situations in our life. Everything is a messenger bringing a message. Learn the message. Once you get the messenger goes away. And that is what happened to them also. The moment they received the message, they understood that they had to go back and make Swami the center of their lives. The problem next day vanished. Mr. Parth Sarthi once took this photograph of Swami along with him to the Derby, horse racing. And he went and bet on one horse. And he prayed to the photo that Swami make this horse win. When he opened his eyes, don't know whether that horse won or not, that photo was gone. Next time when they came to Puttaparthi, they got to know from a devotee who said that sitting in Pathamandiram one day, suddenly in Swami's hand one photograph dropped. And everybody was stunned, and Swami turned to the devotee and said, this photo I had given to one devotee, but he took me to the horse race. That's why I came back. So that is the kind of omniscience our Lord has. Let us not treat Swami like a photograph. Let us treat a photograph like the Lord.
I'm reminded of another incident which happened to one of my juniors. Swami was talking to him every day, and I think it was during the winter vacation. So his parents had come down to Puttaparthi. So you're allowed to stay with your parents in your house on such occasions. And it so happened that one afternoon, his parents were not there, he was all alone. So he thought, okay, let's see TV for some time. Pretty harmless desire. So he switches on the TV, and just where he was sitting, there was a calendar of Swami, and it looked like the calendar Swami was staring at him. And he felt a little guilty. So what he did, he removed the calendar, rolled it up, kept it aside, and watched the TV. That afternoon he goes for darshan, and he's sitting there in his assigned place. Swami comes up to him, and very sweetly and mischievously Swami says, don't think if you roll up the calendar, Swami can't see you. So one place he says that he is there in the picture that he gives. The other place he reminds us that he is not only in the picture that he gives. So that is the discipline that Swami expects of each one of us. But around this time, there was another devotee and family which came to Swami, and this particular sequence of events, I found it very interesting, and we thought there's something to learn for all of us.
Jaya He Shri Sai Natha Jaya Patisha Sharanu Niki De Jaya.
Many royal families and people from the royal family of Mysore started coming to Swami. Right? When Swami would later go to Mysore, he visited the houses and palaces of so many of these people. One more family that came in that manner was a person by name Ranjot Singh or Ranjot Singh. This person, he eventually became the deputy commissioner of police of Mysore. But his family comes before that. His daughter's name was Sulochana. Sulochana had TB. And Swami takes on her TB on himself, and he gives her relief. So thrilled by this experience, she of course becomes Swami's devotee. Another sister of hers has a child that is born disabled. So she goes to her brother Hanuman Singh and pesters him to go to Puttaparthi, meet Swami, and pray on the behalf of all of the family members to cure this child that has been born disabled. So about 7 or 8 of them, all of these people who are seen in the picture and a few others, they take a vehicle and they come. They have no idea where this Puttaparthi is. So somewhere near Penukanda, they have a flat tire. They lose so much time in trying to get a mechanic and set it right. Then on the way, somebody gives them wrong directions. They go all over the place. So finally, starting from Mysore, they finally reach Puttaparthi late in the evening at around 7:30 p.m. And they enter Puttaparthi, they see that bhajans are going on. So they go and sit in the bhajans. So as soon as Swami sees new devotees have come, Swami calls his wife. And Swami tells her, you sing one bhajan. Her name is Rajkumari. Swami says, you sing one bhajan. She says, Swami, I have no idea. What is a bhajan? Then Swami says, okay, you sing any song. I listen. And Swami goes into his room for a brief time, comes back, and then comes straight to this Hanuman Singh. And Swami says, you're Hanuman Singh, Sulochana's brother. And he's surprised. Then he goes to each one of those new people who have come and tells them their name and where they've come from and who they are. So all of them are very thrilled. And then Swami turns to one lady and Swami tells, didn't I tell you they're coming? And Swami walks away. So this person is wondering, what is Swami telling? So he goes to that lady and asks, what was Swami telling? And then that lady says, from morning Swami is telling 7 people are coming from Mysore. And he's giving us a running commentary of, oh, they had a flat tire there, oh, they've been misdirected there, oh, they've gone here, finally they're coming. So the next morning they go for morning ablutions. And then very casually this Hanuman Singh comments to his friend, all is fine, but why is Swami looking like a lady? He says, he's looking so feminine, he's looking like a lady. And then his friend says, hey, don't say like that, he seems like a big Mahatma, don't speak such things. So they have their bath and everything, they go back. And when they go back to Mandir, Swami is standing there. Do I look like a lady? So eventually they become close to Swami. Swami speaks to them. So he gets this opportunity to ask about this particular nephew of his who's been born disabled. So the moment he asks Swami about this disabled nephew of his, Swami immediately says, no, I cannot do anything about it. Swami says, see, it is because of his past karmas that he is suffering. If I cure him now, he is going to suffer later. Let him go through it and let him finish it. See the sequence of events which happens. How does the family get drawn? Swami cures one of the members in the family. And Swami knows everything even as it is happening. Swami is showing them their omniscience. In playful ways, in serious ways, Swami has shown his powers. And finally, when they say, Swami, this is the purpose we have come, we want this child to be cured, Swami says, no, I will not cure. We speak of so many people being cured. We speak of so many people with Swami's touch, Swami is curing. Childless mothers have been given children. We spoke about that Madhoji Rao and his wife, that couple, Swami gave them a child. Innumerable people who came, Swami blessed them with children. Swami gave apples to some people, gave grapes to some people, gave mangoes to some people. Eventually they all got children. But why for some people he refuses? I think as devotees, it's very important for us to know that Swami knows everything. Swami can solve every problem. But as devotees, we should allow Swami to choose what to solve and what not to solve. When God comes in a human form, He shows that He cares. He not only cares, He loves. Right? And that is why all of those small incidents when Swami was saying, don't go away, I will miss you if you will go away. When we sing bhajans, we sing Bhava Tita, Bhava Gochara. He's beyond all bhava. Why did he cry like that? Why should he do all that drama? Because he wanted us to understand that he loves and he cares, and even when he doesn't give, he gives because he loves and he cares. How will that surrender come? How will we get that surrender? It can be got only by what Swami says, Shravanam. Keep listening, keep listening. When you constantly listen to all of these stories, it emphasizes to our minds that Swami can cure any problem, solve any problem, remove any pain. When we constantly listen to these stories, we understand that Swami cares and Swami loves. And tomorrow if we have a problem, and if there is a solution not forthcoming from Swami, we have to tell ourselves, He can, He cares, He loves, but He chooses not to solve this problem. So we accept. And for that surrender to come, we need to listen constantly to all of these stories. Listening to all of these Bhagavatam is not to fill time, right? It is to make this a part of our thinking. There's one very small incident which one of our seniors were narrating. This boy was suffering from some jaundice or typhoid or something. He could not come for darshan for a few days. Swami just comes up to him, standing there, and this boy gets up, little sympathy, grace you will get, right? So he got up and very pathetically and very sadly he told Swami, I'm having jaundice. Swami says, Atlana, is that so? Chala santosham, Swami says. For a moment this boy is saying, what is this, Swami? I thought there'll be some sympathy, some compassion. Swami is saying, Chala santosham. And Swami walks away. See, this contemplation only comes with God's grace. This boy goes back to the hostel and he says, why did Swami tell Chala santosham? This is not very right. And then he starts thinking, see, whatever we go stand in the sun and do sports meet, we go and sing bhajans, we do this, we do that, we clean our toilets, we do the sweep there, do gram seva. Why do we do all of this? It is to please Swami, right? So he said, if I am having a problem and Swami is saying I'm happy about it, why should I be sad about it? I think that is surrender. So when we go through a problem, like all of these, there are 100 people whom Swami cured, there are 1,000 people Swami doesn't cure. When Swami was on the wheelchair, when Swami was not walking, it was so painful for us to see Swami like that. Once Professor Anil Kumar told Swami, why don't you cure yourself? You know what did Swami say? Swami told, do I cure everybody who comes to me? How can I cure myself? So when we have a problem, he is the example in front of us. He does not enjoy us suffering. That can never be the case. When we are in pain, he is also in pain. If he is allowing us to be in pain, it can only mean that there is something that we are to gain through that pain. And that surrender can be got by constantly listening to Bhagavatam.
This is concerning a person, Gummagutta Subbarao. We have spoken about him and his family at length in the previous episodes of Satya to Sai, of how they had one home at Bukkapatnam, and that was an oasis of hope, succor and support to all the devotees who would be coming to Puttaparthi. In fact, we had gone into how they actually became devotees of Swami. He was a devotee of Radha Krishna. He got darshan of Bhagwan as Radha Krishna. And that's how their whole family became devotees. Multiple incidents. But it was a very, very blessed family. In fact, Swami had told, this family has been with me in the Shirdi times, is with me now, and in my Premasai days also I will be with them. They will get the chance to be with me. Many times, Swami would walk from Puttaparthi to Bukkapatnam in the middle of the night and just go to Gummagutta Subbarao's home and just push him on the bed and just lie down beside him. Next day morning, come back. In his sleep, he'll say, oh, Swami came, okay. And in fact, on one occasion, when Gummagutta Subbarao's 2 daughters were in Puttaparthi, he told, come, we'll go home, and they were very young, 4-year, 5-year-old. Swami actually carried both of them on one shoulder each and walked across the Bukkapatnam lake and took them home. That is the kind of sweet relationship this family shared with Swami. So their home and ancestral home, everything was at Bellary in Karnataka. So many times they had invited Swami to come to Bellary, and Swami had said, I'll definitely come. And Swami treated Gummagutta Subbarao, and Gummagutta Subbarao treated Swami like a dear friend. In fact, Swami would call him Kucheludu. Kuchela is the other name of Sudama, the best friend of Lord Krishna. So Swami used to keep calling him Kucheludu. And suddenly, one fine day, Swami lands up there in a bus with 15 other people. Among those 15 people, there is Konamma. Konamma is the lady who used to prepare amazing rasam. And she is the one who used to catch Swami to apply oil to give him bath. Then there was Ishwaramma. There was Yadalam Nagamma from the Yadalam family. That is another family that we have discussed. This is the family that gave Swami his robe first. So with all these 15 people, Swami lands up in Bellary, and people are pleasantly surprised. They're thrilled. But at the same time, they're also sad. They're sad that, Swami, you suddenly came and you're here for such a short time. We don't have enough time to, interact with you and fill our hearts with you till our heart's content. But something is better than nothing. So whatever they are able to get, they manage to get it. They do Pada Puja, they sit for some bhajan, whatever possible. And Swami leaves. And they tell Swami, you must definitely come again. We didn't get enough. You should come again. Swami says, okay, I'll come again. And next day, in the same bus, with the same 15 people, Swami comes to Bellary. Bellary to Puttaparthi, even to this day is a 6-hour journey. Those days it must have been comfortably a 10 to 12-hour journey, which means it's just enough for Swami to go to Puttaparthi and again come back. And then, to their amazement, the other 15 people in the bus, they are all first time they're coming to Bellary like this. And Swami says that yesterday, the bus was me, the 15 people were also me. None of them have come before. This is the actual visit. See the Leela of the Lord. Swami creates just not 2-3 other bodies, 15 other bodies, and the whole bus, everything. And so now Swami visits the home of Gumagutta Subbarao's daughter, and her name is Satyavati. And there, they want to do Pada Puja, and before doing Pada Puja, they want to put a garland to Swami. And they have not got anything ready. Swami materializes a garland. This is that photograph of the garland that Swami materializes. He only materializes and puts it and says, okay, do. And they do Pada Puja, and Swami fills them with joy, because after that Swami goes even to Gumagutta Subbarao's house. He goes to the neighbor's house. Different things. There is one Somakka, one lady. She's childless from many years. Swami goes to her house, blesses her, gives her an apple, cuts it into 3 pieces. And within some years, she has 3 children, 3 sons. He goes to another lady's house, creates a picture of Dattatreya for her. For one more person, a silver amulet. So everybody in Bellary is filled with joy. And the joy is doubled because this is a Mahima and a Leela that has happened. And they didn't even realize. This is during the actual visit. The photograph that has been taken. Swami doesn't need to travel physically to actually come along with us. He is there in our heart always. We just need to call out to him and he will manifest before us.